Good morning, Instagram. What is up, everybody? Splash here. It is Thursday, March 19th, 2020. Yeah, I gotta look at the calendar. I don't remember everything. I don't remember the days half the time. Sometimes I don't even know what year I'm in, which is funny. So, real quick, we just got done with the podcast today. I'm gonna have my guest on this live with us. So, we'll get her on here in a minute. And I always tell you, like, don't buckle up. Like, this time I want you to buckle up because we're going to have some fun conversation here. Let's bring her on. Bear with me. Whew. Good morning, Annalisa. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So for those that don't know, do yourself a quick introduction. Because we had an Untherapy conversation this morning on the podcast.
We did. We did.
It was good. So let everyone know who you are real quick so they kind of have a small introduction of you.
Okay. I am Annalisa, the Untherapist. For the past 10 years, I have been developing a way to fix your mind and get yourself on straight and be able to process your emotions productively. Without having to go through the big, long trauma and drama of traditional therapy. And I have learned that and taught myself that within the context of being a painter, and drywall construction.
You're blue-collar.
I tested all of my theories on blue-collar people, mostly dudes. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we just did a podcast for an hour. I brought you on. It's a very different time that we're in right now, and you do something called Untherapy.
Yes.
You're the you have yourself as the Untherapist right now.
Yes.
And I'll put the link in this today, but the podcast will be loaded within the hour. It was a good conversation. I think that I brought you on because I wanted everyone to hear, like, and I said this on the podcast, like, sometimes I just shoot out of my mouth. I really don't know if what I'm saying is helpful to people. I get those messages like, Splash, you can't say that. And my wife loves me for this. I'll say whatever the hell I want and not really think about how someone may take it.
Right.
But I wanted to bring on a professional, someone who has it. So in a nutshell, for the last hour, we talked about the mental side of this.
Yes.
Like the emotion and how to release it. It's only 19 seconds. For me, it was 24. But whether you're in Missouri, you guys own a drywall paint company. You've been doing it for years. Your daughter's now in the trade. She mans her own team. So this isn't something you're just like, hey, I think I know what I'm doing. But the therapy side of it, you do. You are around blue collar every day. And now it's not just your husband. So it'll be interesting to see in 4 years how having that daughter that's there, like, push it. But we talked about tools within a system. Don't be afraid, everybody. But the importance of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, give us a little bit of, they're going to go listen to the podcast, but give us a little bit of tease on how you, through this time, it's conversation based, it's emotional based, but, how would you direct someone that may not listen to the podcast, but in a nutshell say, listen, these are some things you can do, good practices or good tools to add to your toolbox for them?
If I had 30 seconds with a random painter or tradesman on the job, what I would say is more than ever at a time like this that is so unprecedented, you need to get serious about figuring out your internal thought life, what's got you freaked out, and deal with that. Because once you deal with that, you can get real with your employees, with your customers, with your contractors, and the people who are going to win, the people who are going to come out of this unscathed. In the big picture, we're all going to be scathed, if that's a thing. We're all going to be affected. Yeah. But the people who are going to thrive through, and especially after this has passed, are going to be the people who become emotionally literate. the people who figure out how to leverage the crazy and how to release the fear and the panic and how to make really creative pivots right in the middle of all of this mess, and who are able to evolve and become better versions of whatever they were before. And that is exactly what's needed. It's exactly what will naturally happen if we will allow it to. So beyond my system that I've developed and the specific tools that I bring to the table to help people do this in a very guided and very quick way, there are other tools, there are other ways that are available. It's more so just knowing this is where you need to go. This is your target. You need to be way more worried about how to get your mind straight so that you can decide what to do next than just starting with what do I do next? Because if you're in a panic, then you are about as helpful as a toddler throwing a fit. You can just picture yourself running in circles, screaming because you don't want your sippy cup. So until we can calm down and restore our ability to think logically, we're not really going to be doing any good. So those of us who are going to win through this and come out the other side thriving are going to be the ones that are able to process our emotions. We're able to dig deep and become thinking, breathing, feeling humans. We're not going to buy into that, oh, I'm blue collar, I'm a dude, I don't have feelings, buck stops with me, I'm going to stuff it all and I'm going to force my way through. This is too big for that. Don't try. Your poor mind is tired and you need to let that shit go and you need to move through this.
Exactly. No, and I know it's kind of weird to think, we're blue collars and I'm having a therapist talk to us and you also are blue collar, very, very blue collar.
Yeah, look at my paint shirt, everybody.
There you go. We need to have this conversation. It's a good leader can't lead if the windshield's dirty. Yeah. You have to clean that. And I'm very, very metaphoric and visual. So if you're the leader and you're driving whatever it is that your vehicle is, you have to stop and clean your windshield. It's just truck drivers do it every day. It's the same mentality we're having. And we talked about on the podcast, it's such a small amount, but blue collar people, we have this mentality of I'm Billy Badass, middle finger you, I'm going to do it the way that we want to. But what we talked about is breaking that down. And there's a quiz that you gave us. I'll download it. You guys can have the link where you can kind of see where you're at and then where your team is at. Cause that's one part of learning. And as you said, cleaning this up is you have to have a clear mind and a clear process. None of us imagined that this was going to happen. How it affects us, we don't know. Still to this day, California people who aren't working right now, blue collars, they probably never thought imaginably. But now let's relate that to something we all know. We've all been in a relationship and thought this relationship's awesome. And then, there's a cliff and the relationship's damaged. You're wait, everything seemed like peaches and cream and butterflies. And then now I'm swimming in a thing of alligators trying to figure out how the hell to get out of this. Right. We don't want that to happen.
Right.
That's not what we want. So what we talked about today was saying, look, there is no cliff. This ride is good, even though as a business owner, as an employee, we're thinking, how am I going to feed my family? How's my rent going to be paid? How's my mortgage, my car payment, my credit cards? I just spent all my tax money. I can sit and list 100 different things we're thinking of. But what this is going to do is, hippie coming out, bring that in, meditate it, let your whole mind and body feel it, and then let it out and say, boom, I figured it out.
Yep.
And move on and become stronger.
Right. And I think that we stand, I just thought of this at the end of the podcast, didn't have time to say it, but I think we stand to have a massive shift in the overall perception of the trades through the course of this entire debacle. I think because the trades have been underrepresented and under-promoted for so many years, and all of us who have these contracting businesses are can I get a good person, that's not addicted to meth? Can I get more than one employee that's, literate or whatever? But I think if we do this right, we can fix that in a really, really profound and quick manner compared to what it would have been under normal circumstances. So that's just kind of like a side bonus. But what you're talking about with understanding, you know, how our minds naturally work, taking the shame out of this, not pointing, not blaming. Who's got time for that? That is not actually helpful. Let's get busy solving our unique problems, being creative about them. If we get freaked out, feel the freak out. Don't judge yourself. Let it go. Move forward. Make some more good decisions and see what happens. And if we can look at our lives, and you made that great point about a relationship where you think this is the one, and then 6 months later, you're like, oh my God, get me out of this.
What happened? I found a cliff.
To this point, we each have a 100% survival rate from awful things happening. 100%. Yeah. So if you will look at your own life and take stock and realize, no, this exact situation has never happened to me before. But yes, I have survived hard things. Each of us has survived our own hard things. And if we can remember that and come at it from a belief system that says hope, that says healing, that says things will get better, not worse. We don't buy into the media's gloom and doom, because why? That's not supportive. Yeah. We make decisions about our mental health and about our businesses that are positive and that are proactive. We're going to get through this. It is going to happen, whether we're kicking and screaming the whole time or whether we're cooperating with that forward movement.
But you don't want to be kicking and screaming through this. You said something about the media, and I'm a firm believer that a lot of relationships that people are in are built on what we have seen on TV. Mm-hmm. You know, and I can go through the whole, you know, think of every episode of any TV show. Mm-hmm. One thing I think that's important is that we break is that, one, we're not TV. Relationships or business is not what you see on TV. We get to make it what we want to be. And now I haven't slowed down. I don't think you guys have slowed down, but you've had to reevaluate. Reevaluation in any line of business is important, but especially right now, because we are going to succeed. And I agree with you 100%. The blue collar tribe is going to change after this, because I feel for many years that, you know, I mean, I'm 40. When I go back to my high school time and think about how my high school life was, my father never wanted me to be blue collar. It was all, and he was. Mm-hmm. Go get your degree. Go learn computer science.
Go to college.
Go learn how to do this. Go to do this. And now that I'm in my 40s and I've always done blue collar work, but now it's a business I own, and it's like, wait, first off, this is fucking awesome. Second, I have weird bosses because they're different customers or contractors, but like, I get to kind of do my own thing, and I get to be super creative, which my teacher said, don't do, but it's this mentality. But now I'm starting to see with the subs that we're bringing in, these are men and women leaving white collar work saying, this is what I want to do. And they're not more people there are different statistics we can read, but like, I have my friends that are making under six figures are probably some of the happiest people. My friends that are making above six figures, not all of them, but a lot of them that are making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 are miserable in their job, are miserable in their day-to-day life. Everything is the end of the world to them. And so I love that shift that I'm seeing. Like, it's not the amount of money. It's, okay, these are the toys that I want because we all want them. What do I need to do to get them? I'm going to do that, but I'm going to have a freedom in my life that I was told I wasn't able to have, and not be the ball and chain to your career instead of waking up. There's a saying out there that says, when you create a job that you love, you wake up every day loving what you do, not having a job.
Right.
And that's my life.
Well, and I think
right now.
I think that this situation is putting a pause. It's forcing a pause that we would not have picked for ourselves. Nobody wants to not work when work is what sustains our family and gives us that sense of identity and all of those things. So while we're being forced to pause, especially in those places where there's the work restrictions where you literally can't do business, there are other things that are wanting to happen within you, within your family and your relationships, maybe even your relationships with your employees or whatever, that you need to look at and be curious about and ask questions. What good things could come from me going there? What good things could come from me trying to deal with this instead of avoiding it? If there's just one thing I could say, it is lean into the discomfort, address the elephant in the room, allow emotions to go through and out. Because I always say, when something presents, something bothers you, something is a problem in your life, it only is there so that it can be released. They come up so that they can come out. So we learn very young, when something's wrong, stuff it, pretend it's not there, make it go away. And our blue collar dudes are the end of the line. We're the backbone of America. We're strong. We don't have feelings, or if we do, we can't afford to show them. No. We're regular people. Everybody has the same need to express and release all of these things. And so we are, in some regards, this is sort of a very necessary break and reset in our societal emotional ethos. So we can use it as that, or we can panic and avoid it. Either way, it's happening. So we may as well leverage it for our benefit.
No, and we talked about it on the podcast. We're not going to discuss everything we did on the podcast. You're going to have to go listen to it. But one thing that you said I've hung on to is like, my personality is I work better in depression. I think it's a blue collar thing. I think men and women, and you keep saying men, but I want to include the women in this because I have a lot of you were blue collar. My wife is blue collar, even though she sits at a computer all day with her job, but she's very badass. Blue collar is like, I want people to stop for a minute and think about this. We've all had hard times in our life, and I'm a firm believer the universe will only give you what you can handle because it's what you've manifested, that you're willing to take on. That's a really hard way for people to understand that, but the bad things that you see in your life are things that you've either allowed or you've manifested yourself. Now you have to conquer those. We didn't do this. Like, this was not anything we did. So pause for a minute and do not say, this is what I don't, and this goes back to media and TV. Every time something happens to someone, it's always, this is the worst thing ever, or this is the best thing ever. I'm sorry, it's not. You can't label that. Those emotions as a human, you naturally grow, even the slower ones. You're going to naturally grow and be like, okay, this is not that bad. Whatever this is now, we're all going to get through it. We know that. I mean, it's not going to end. I had an earthquake yesterday and the world didn't end. I heard sirens for 3 hours. We're fine. But with that being said, is like, embrace it. Like, and that's a blue collar tribe mentality, is like, say like, oh, you're going to tell me I can't weld this? Hold my beer while I do this.
Watch me.
And I want to have that mentality with this, but do it slow. If you need to cry because you stubbed your toe or tripped over your own boot, I don't know who does that, but let it out. Then pick yourself back up and be like, I got this. But put your peacock feathers down. I said that in the show, and I meant that real wholeheartedly. Like, this is not a time to fly your flag. Like, I'm Mr. Billy Badass. You're just building up until something happens, and you're not going to have the right way to let that energy out in a good way.
Keeping in mind that when we posture, when our ego gets the better of us, when we are trying to prove that we really do have it all together, that is just a superficial way for us to try to cover and protect our own fear. So when you see people doing that, compassion, empathy is a good thing, because they're scared. It's just the posturing, the peacock, the showing off, I've got this all handled. It's just a insecure person trying not to be caught, and we can all see them. And so let's not be those ourselves, and let's make it safe.
You're
for
more
other
vulnerable
people.
Now when you do it that way. You're going to be more vulnerable if you keep doing that instead of saying,
you know what?
I'm okay.
I have no idea what's happening. And because if we can be real, that's the thing. We have to start being real. Now is the perfect time, because it's kind of an even playing field.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking. Everyone's having these conversations. May as well just come clean and stop pretending we know what's going on. Because if you think you know what's going on, something else is going to happen in a couple minutes and you're going to be lost again. Let's just own that we're lost about what's going on outside of us and get really clear about what's happening inside. because this is also going to expose, a lot of us have belief systems that you were referencing, that stuff just happens, bad stuff just happens. And that's not actually true. But
no, you manifest it.
When we believe that's true, then if you think about it, then we believe in life as a non-consensual experience. So we become like we are being attacked by the world outside of us. But we're not taking the control over the one thing we can, which is our internal thought life. So that's where I'm saying, if there is one time to get a handle on how we think and on how we feel and on what we do with all of this, and then how we put it out into the world, now is the time.
Yeah, and you hit it on the head. It really is. And I mean, like I said, we talked about it for an hour, and it's peaceful to know that there's someone in the blue collar world that is, you call yourself the Untherapist, that you've made a therapeutic way without being an Untherapist, because blue collar tribe people are like, I got this shit. I'm going to show you. We truly are. Like, I love Twitter. The Twitter page called Hold My Beer While that is the blue collar mentality. And I love that about us. But sometimes you just need to be like, okay, we'll get it, and not like, I like fear. I like knowing that, but there's a time and a place to know that you're going to conquer it, opposed to just letting yourself have an emotion for 20 seconds and being like, I'm really scared. I'm really nervous. I don't know how I'm going to pay my guys. I don't know how I'm going to tell this customer this, or I don't know how I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. Let it out, pick your pants back up, and be like, okay, I got it. We got it. It's cool. And have conversations. Like, that's one thing that we didn't touch on, but like, I want blue collar people, like, one, I have a podcast. I've invited anyone on that wants to come on and talk about it, talk about whatever you're going through. And two is that, like, you need to release your words. It's not just your physical emotions that you have. Yep. Your words are important, and No Bullshit Blue Collar was created for that reason. I didn't see this coming. I didn't, but I knew that when I built this platform, I was trying to be a therapist like you. But what I wanted to do is build a platform where blue collar people said, like, I get to just release and say whatever I want, and everyone else is just going to listen to me, and I feel better now. Yeah. And we need that right now.
Verbal processing is absolutely critical. I just mentioned this on a live I did on my Untherapy page the other day. If all you did was once a day reach out to someone and give them space to share their experience with you without judging them, without telling them they're doing it wrong, without offering unsolicited advice, you will change your orientation to your own concept of autonomy and the ability to make your own choices like almost nothing else. There's almost nothing more powerful than connecting human to human and acknowledging that person's ability to process their own emotions and give them space to do that. And then if you happen to have a mentor or somebody in your life that's got this more figured out than you do, by all means, reach out to them and use them as a sounding board. The time of being the stony, cold, silent, got it together one is over. OVR, over.
We can read it. We can read it. And all you're doing is hurting yourself. Those are the people that aren't successful.
Yeah, they're going to stymie their growth.
The other thing too, if you're going to do that, which I like that you said, reach out to someone and be a soundboard for them. We all have this conversation. We all have this one friend. It could be a family member. I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus that I know, but I know they know who they are. Don't be so ready to respond. Right. Listen. Like, that is a huge pet peeve of mine. Like, when people are like, oh, I want to call and tell you this, or hey, whatever the situation may be, and it's like they don't even listen to what they listen to the first 30 seconds, then they already know their answer without listening to the full thing, and just be a sponge. Whether you agree with them or not, you don't need. That's not why that person picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Splash, ... Hey, Annalisa, ... Like, you're just there to listen and be like, yeah, I get it. Just agree with them. Later on, unless they end, like with my wife, and I'll be very deep with this, like with my wife, like there's times I said, listen, I'm going to tell you something. Don't respond.
Yep.
Because I just need to get this out.
Yep.
And this is how I never find my cliff in my relationship. Just so you know, that's my key. Like and she does the same thing to me. And we're totally different. Like if you look at our love languages, we are way different. Mm-hmm. But that's part of our relationship building. And I take that with my crew as like, just tell me what you want. I'm not going to respond if you don't want me to, but I will listen. Then at the end, sometimes I'll catch myself with like, ooh, that felt good. Okay, what do you think? And then because I have mentally prepared myself now that it's all out to be able to take criticism or things I don't want to hear and I'm ready to do it. That's a huge human trait that a lot of people don't have because we fear criticism. Right. And right now you can't fear that right now. You have to be open and say, these are the fears I have. What do you think? And how do I handle this?
And that normalizes the human experience because we need to know that we're not alone. And giving the gift of listening, and we don't have to understand the other person. Simply listening without judgment will make them feel understood because all we're really doing when we share with somebody, when we trust them to hear our story, is we are mirroring our own reality and processing that, and then we are hearing and seeing it back to us in a way that we can't just by talking to ourselves. That's why it's so important, and it's such an easy thing, and you don't have to have advanced social skills to pick up the phone and reach out to someone and give them the platform to just talk to you, and you just to go, oh, yeah, sounds hard. Wow. You don't, and then if they want advice at the end and you happen to have something that helps, great. But that advice is even going to be something you needed to say to yourself. Like we're all just mirrors for each other. And so, yeah, that's just a really easy way to show up for each other. And that's something within our businesses, with our employees, with our partners, with our kids. It's a foolproof way to show up and make humanness normal and okay, because we're all in this together, and we might all feel alienated and lonely at times, and I guess in some ways we might be, but at the same time we're not.
No, you're right, we're not. And I don't know, it's like when you're on a job site, I shouldn't say we all, but I do this a lot where I think of something and I envision it happening and then I do it and it doesn't work out. But had I spoken what I was thinking, I would have heard where that error was. I want to say we've all felt that. Like, we've had that moment, like, in my head, I didn't see it happening that way. But it goes to the speaking. If you can just get it out verbally, the world's a much different color. Like, it's a funny analogy when I say that it is. It truly is. And so many people feel like they don't have someone to listen to. But in actuality, it's because you pushed, I'm going to be deep, you've pushed those people away because you don't think they're ready to listen. When in reality, you're just not ready to listen to the criticism and have the cojones to say, listen, I'm going to talk, shut up. I just need to get this out. We'll talk later when I'm ready. It may be immediate. It may be an hour.
Right.
But the soundboard, if you let the soundboard know their role, like, hey, I'm going to talk and then I'm going to leave, the world is like much brighter.
It is, and if
in my opinion,
you can, and here's what I like to do. I like to get permission for everything because people who give their permission are much more open. So if you ask someone, "Do you have a minute to just listen? I need to vent," and they say no, move on to somebody else. Find somebody else.
Don't take it personal.
It's not. You can't, and that's the thing. We gotta drop our defenses right now. We gotta try different things. The other thing is we can't read minds. Other people can't read our mind. We think other people know what we want, what we need.
I read minds.
Okay, I do too pretty well, but don't tell people that. It's going to freak them out. No, but
I know.
When we share, like you were saying, you have this idea. Let's say we have an idea at work, things are going to go a certain way. Well, if I have that idea and I communicate it to everybody affected, I have just increased the ability of that thing to work well by like 1,000%. And whatever faults in the plan are going to be self-correcting because people are going to be like, yeah, that was a great idea, except this part, and I can fix this part. Like communication, honest communication. It sounds so simple. It sounds like, oh, well, if I'm the boss, I shouldn't have to say what I need. People should just do their job. No, people can't read your mind. You should talk. Oh, I'm just the employee. I can't speak up. Also not true. You are on the ground. You know things that that employer can't ever see. Speak up. You will feel better. They will feel better. The whole world will heal faster from this entire sitch.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny. Except for, I just want to add one asterisk to this. Unless it's one of those situations where there's a little bit of alcohol involved and someone's going to say, hey, I'm going to do this, then you support it, because as long as you record it and we can laugh, perfect.
This is why I don't drink, because I call myself a sober drunk. I don't need alcohol. I will do the crazy things. You will get the video and you won't even know I wasn't drunk.
Same here. But some people, like, we all have that one friend that has to be intoxicated.
I'm married to him.
Like 1 or 2 drinks. Yeah, see? You know.
Oh, I
like,
do.
My wife's new joke is, like, she's an Instagram girlfriend. She's like, I seriously just need a shirt that says Instagram girlfriend right here. Because I'll just do the craziest things while I'm on video. But Annalisa, I know you're busy. I just wanted to thank you. So those that are watching and have made it this far into the live video, we did an hour podcast on Untherapy for Blue Collar Tribe. So we'll have that load in the next hour. It was a lot of good information. We'll have you on again. If people wanted to talk to you, if they like what we're talking about and they don't really have that soundboard but want to reach out to you, where can they find you at, just in the event that that is something they do?
Sure. So I'm right in the middle of formulating my Untherapist Academy, and I don't have resources for that quite yet. But the best place to find me is on Facebook at Annalisa the Untherapist. That's where you'll find me the most easily at the moment.
We'll put a link on this.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Sounds
thank
great.
you so much. I'm going to go make some funny videos.
Okay.
And
I'm going to go paint some stuff.
Yes, go paint. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you
Bye.
later. All right, everyone. That was my guest today on the podcast, No Bullshit Blue Collar. If you have not had a chance to listen to it, to any of my podcasts, I strongly suggest that you start with this one, especially with what's going on. Annalisa is a very unique individual in the sense of being blue collar and having a very strong therapeutic background, but she does it in an untherapeutic way, which I love. And it's important that right now with being blue collar, we have a lot of uncertainty. I mean, everybody does. Non-blue collar, blue collar. But there are companies right now, and this may be you, where you've had to shut your business down. There are companies in a situation that don't know where their next job is going to be because their customers have backed out. There are clients in a position that say, listen, the main company we work for, contractor, doesn't have work, but the company that pays us 3/4 of what we normally make has a lot of work. Is it worth our time and value to go over there? So jump over to the podcast, No Bullshit Blue Collar. I'll have a little link in here today. There's a test that you can take, a personality test for blue collars. It's interesting, so go take that test.